thank you for joining us, and welcome to another edition of the Wealth Guardians radio show. I'm your host. I'm Doug Ray, and I appreciate you spending some of your weekend with us. Jeff Brown, known as around these parts as JB, is again here in the studio with us. JB, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Doug. Thanks for asking.
You know, I was walking into the studio this morning, and I was thinking, man, is it my imagination, or is this one of those long, cold, nasty winters?
It's been a long, cold, nasty winter. And, I grew up in the mountains, so I'm used to it. But I tell you what, I have never been so happy to see the sunshine, and I am ready for some more ticks on the old thermometer as we head into spring.
You know, I was watching some TV last night, and up pops one of those sandals commercials, and it's got this waiter dressed up in a tux, and he's carrying some drinks over to what looks like I guess a couple of just maybe on their honeymoon or something. And it's those kind of drinks that have an umbrella in them.
Oh, yeah, the umbrella drinks, yeah.
And I'm watching this, and they're laying out there on the beach. I'm going, oh, man, I could use me some of that. And even the drink with the umbrella, I could use some of that, too. So anyway, hey, before we get started, I want to salute the men and women of our armed forces and our first responders, along with their families, for all the sacrifices and services to this community. Thank you for protecting our freedoms of this great country. We just really appreciate you. Well, for first-time listeners, I'm Doug Ray, and I'm the founding principal of Ray Financial Group and the Wealth Guardians radio show. We're an independent financial firm working with pre-retirees and retirees in all areas of retirement and estate planning. We're fiduciaries, and I've always served my clients in this manner. We have offices both here in the Triad as well as in Charlotte. You know, I have a very unique approach that I believe I can best serve my clients by positioning them to avoid losses rather than trying to pick the winners. For the last 20 years, I have successfully helped hundreds of my clients protect what they've saved for retirement against loss and still enjoy the benefit of market gains to ensure retirement income that will last a lifetime. The goal of this show is to educate and inform listeners of up-to-date, relevant, and important information in the pre-retirement, retirement, and estate planning arena. JB and I look forward to spending the next 30 minutes with you and giving you some solid financial information that I hope is going to help you make a difference.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome again to the show. We've got a great show for you today. You know, Doug, the retirement landscape has changed dramatically over the last several years. And in order to have a successful retirement plan, pre-retirees and retirees today have to do things much differently than they did in the past. Do you agree with that, Doug?
Yeah, you know, whether you're 40 or 80 years old, you just forget everything you've heard about retirement planning. It's all changed, and it's going to change again. Look, simply put, planning for your successful retirement is harder than ever. Now, as complex and cumbersome as planning for successful retirement is, the end game is pretty simple for most people, and it remains as real as ever. The object is to protect and preserve your hard-earned nest egg and receive as much income as possible from that nest egg throughout your lifetime. Unfortunately, though, like we said before, everything about achieving these two main principles and how to accomplish them is changing. And it's going to continue to change and evolve. And you're going to face several risks along the way. Planning for retirement, you need to address many areas, and you have to make some very tough, critical decisions about how to save for retirement. You'll have to make decisions about medical insurance, about how to properly invest, about taxes and tax planning, about Social Security, about estate planning and how to draw income properly, and many other areas along the way. Many of these decisions are irreversible, making them even more critical. And if you make the wrong choice, it could have a trickle-down effect on your whole retirement plan. Now, on top of all that, you can't rely on what worked in the past. As we've said before, retirement planning is changing and will continue to change. Following outdated rules of thumb and traditional cookie-cutter approaches is the road to never retiring. You also can't travel the road of getting your retirement advice online, in books and magazines and other places. A lot of that information is outdated and just plain wrong. So you can't travel those roads, folks. Today, you mostly need to use tools and strategies that are different from those that worked for past generations of retirees like your parents, grandparents. Retirement has changed and it will continue to change. Gone are the days of being able to rely on an employer and a government to take care of you. So the responsibility of having a successful retirement plan is on you. You need to know how to build and maintain a successful retirement plan, and most importantly, you have to know how to deal with today's main threats to your retirement security. So we're going to address these issues on today's show, and we're going to talk about the main threats to retirement security that you definitely need to know about and share some potential solutions to those threats. So, JB, let's get started.
Okay, let's do it. You know, the first threat is, or the first risk, I should say, the first retirement risk, the historical foundations of retirement security are crumbling. So what does that really mean, Doug?
Well, what we're talking about here, the historical foundations of retirement security, are pensions and Social Security. You know, JB, historically, these two have been the main staples of anybody's retirement plan in the past.
Right.
You used to have be able to rely on your employer and the government to take care of you with a pension, with a Social Security. But as I said before, those days are gone. Most companies no longer offer pension plans to their employees, and the ones that do, most of those plans have been frozen. Mm-hmm. Basically, that means for people in the workforce today, most of them are going to have to be retiring without a pension. And for those who still have a pension, most of those pensions are not accumulating money now. Plus, a lot of companies are trying to terminate their pension plans as well. So, again, it's hard to rely on any employer anymore to take care of you because they're moving away from those defined benefit pension plans and moving to what's called a defined contribution plan, otherwise known as a 401k. You know, these plans simply offer you a retirement savings plan that you can contribute to. The 401ks, the 403bs, the 457s of the world, something like that. These types of plans, it's up to you to save for retirement, and you decide how much you're going to put back and how you're going to invest that money for potential growth. And if you're lucky, they'll give you a little bit of a match. But for the most part, it's going to be what you decide to put back and save. That's what I mean by not being able to rely on an employer anymore. Now, what I mean by not being able to rely on the government anymore is that obviously changes are coming to Social Security. You're not going to be able to rely on just Social Security anymore to get by. You got to plan for yourself, and all that responsibility now falls squarely on your shoulders. That's a lot of responsibility there, and you must make sure you have the proper help, proper advice, and doing that in order to build your own successful retirement nest egg.
Okay, Doug, the next retirement risk out there, and it's a big one, medical and health care related expenses.
Yeah, absolutely. Medical and health care expenses are the most misunderstood, underestimated expenses. Look, let's consider some factors here. Number one, many Americans believe that the Medicare of their employees will cover most retirement medical expenses and long-term care expenses they need. Unfortunately, that's not correct. Number two, only 28% of employers with more than 200 employees provide retiree medical coverage. Compare that to 1968 when 66% did. Most of those still provide coverage or reducing benefits and moving retirees to privately run insurance exchanges. Factor three, Medicare pays only 80% of covered expenses, so you're on the hook for the other 20%. And that's no limit on that. Plus, there's many medical expenses that are not covered by Medicare. You need to have a plan and a way to pay for these expenses. Number four, Medicare covers only about half the average member's medical expenses. The average retiree will pay $6,000 to $8,000 out of pocket each year for medical care.
Wow.
Yeah. Number five, hey, we're not done. A retired married couple today is estimated to average or need more than $270,000 over the next 20 years to pay for their medical expenses that are not covered by Medicare. Now, of course, those with above average needs or those who live past 85 will need even more. Number six, prescription drugs. They're not covered under Parts A and B of Medicare. And number seven, I'm almost done here, JB.
That's okay.
Medicare is now means tested. The higher your income is, the higher your Medicare premium will be for both regular Medicare B and for prescription drug coverage under Part D. The bottom line, medical expenses will be one of the three biggest post-career expenses for most people, and they'll only increase as the years go on. Even those who understand they're largely on their own for medical care and need to know. Many pay way too much for Medigap, Part D, prescription drugs, and long-term care coverage. Recent surveys have even found that many owners of these policies pay up to twice what they need to. It doesn't do much good to save and invest for comfortable retirement and build for a legacy for your loved ones if all you do is spend your nest egg on medical care and overpriced insurance. Hey, look, make sure you have the proper help because, again, it's so expensive and you must make sure you cover yourself the most proper way with the least amount of cost. All right, so again, JB, I want to offer to all of our listeners out there a chance to come in and sit down with me for a free, no obligation. Look, see at your plan, if you've got a plan at all. If you don't have a plan, we'll build one for you. So give us a call at the office at 336-391-3409, and let's come in, have a cup of coffee together, and talk about your retirement goals.
All right, sounds good, Doug. Well, you are listening to the Wealth Guardians radio show here on 94.5 WPTI. We certainly appreciate you being with us. And remember, you can reach Doug and write this number down, 336-391-3409, 336-391-3409, or you can visit the website at www.thewealthguardians.com, thewealthguardians.com. And stay tuned. We've got several more retirement risks to get to. We'll be right back after this quick break, so stay with us here on 94.5 WPTI.
In the good old days, our parents had Social Security and pensions that provided lifetime retirement income, and today's 401ks are subject to loss, unpredictable returns, and no guarantee of lifetime income. Good news, replacement of pensions and lifetime income is possible. Join me, Doug Ray of the Wealth Guardian Show, for an educational workshop based on retirement planning expert Tom Hegna's best-selling PBS special, Don't Worry, Retire Happy. We'll discuss the math and science of optimal retirement, why living longer is a risk multiplier, Social Security strategies that could put tens of thousands more in your pocket, the risk of not having a plan for long-term care, and turning retirement savings into your personal pension. Tuesday, February 27th or Thursday, March 1st at 6:30 p.m. Seating's limited. There's no cost, but you must register. 336-391-3409 or thewealthguardians.com.
And welcome back to the Wealth Guardians radio show, where we tell you what you need to hear, not necessarily what you want to hear. We are right in the middle of the show where we have been discussing some of the main retirement risks that pre-retirees and retirees face in today's retirement world. Now, the next major retirement risk that people face is following inaccurate or wrong advice or information.
Yeah, JB, that really happens an awful lot out there. A lot of people receive and follow bad advice, or they just follow plain wrong information. And there's a lot of reasons why. One is that information's everywhere. You can, it's there. It's in internet, social media, even your phone. You can get your phone out and get information anytime. Information is just plain everywhere. Unfortunately, a lot of that information is simply outdated, it's inaccurate, or it's just plain out wrong. So you got to be very careful about getting a lot of information on the internet.
A lot of fake news out there, so to speak.
Lots of fake news. I mean, I believe everything I read on the internet.
Sure, it's on the internet. I believe it, right?
Yeah. In addition, a lot of so-called financial advisors out there may not provide the most accurate information. Unfortunately, a lot of them are not properly licensed or educated properly on the types of advice that they're giving out. You must be very careful about who you're talking to and taking advice from. I would highly encourage you to find out what type of licenses they have, what their history of education is, what their background is, and all the things that will determine if they're qualified to give you advice. And if that advice they give you will even be accurate. JB, to get a license to sell a financial product, you don't even have to have a high school education. Is that crazy?
That opens your eyes a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Think about that one.
It is amazing. Hey, look, you want to be sure it's coming from a credible source, an educated source, and from an advisor that has a fiduciary duty to provide you advice that is in your best interest all the time. Now, we take pride in what we do in our company. I've been in this business 30 years, and for fear of patting myself on the back, I think I've gone the extra mile in terms of trying to educate myself, and I do that for my clients. I got the MBA years ago. I've got the CHFC. I got the credentials in retirement income planning. I've got the credentials in long-term care and Social Security. And it's important for you to have an advisor that has those kinds of education. And with those credentials, we have to constantly stay updated. There's this thing called continuing education that we're required to do every year. In fact, if I add it up, I think I probably have 40 plus hours a year.
Wow.
That's a whole week
Yep.
of continuing education to keep those credentials and licenses. So it's very important that you talk to people, get advice from people that make this career, this wonderful career we have, make it something that's more a craft.
Exactly.
And not a job.
Right. Well, Doug, following inaccurate or wrong advice is also a risk when it comes to investing money in retirement.
Absolutely. Look, getting bad advice is the most dangerous thing you can do in retirement. Unfortunately, this happens a lot when it comes to your investment strategy and your approach in retirement. Look, folks, the game changes 180 degrees as you enter your pre-retirement and retirement years. You have to switch from a primary accumulation mode of building your nest egg to a preservation and distribution mode while you still want to grow your nest egg. It's more about protecting and preserving what you have and taking money from that nest egg the most prosperous way. Unfortunately, most investment advice out there is related to younger people and those trying to really grow their retirement accounts. And unfortunately, again, many retirees and pre-retirees are getting the same advice to invest just like everybody else. They're being told to use the traditional asset allocation models and buy and hold portfolio approach and to count on the long-term trends of an ever-rising stock market. While these strategies may work over the very long run, unfortunately, they often produce poor results in the short run. Now, as you know, people in our near retirement can't afford to invest based on 80 years of history of long-term returns. They have to take a much shorter approach and make sure they don't take the wild swings of the market. You need to make sure you have the right investment plan in place and grow and protect that nest egg and avoid major hits in the market. Look, don't take traditional advice, the diversified buy and hold approach, because it's not going to help you in your retirement plan. The truth is most portfolios are designed as a 50% or a 60% stock and a 40 or a 50% bond allocation ratio. And realistically, about 90% of that's tied up in the equity markets, and those markets fluctuate. You must be very careful with that. Your retirement security will rise and fall with stock indices. With that approach, look, the bulls are running wild right now. I get that. We've been in this long-term uptrend since 2009. Mm-hmm. If you think it's going to be that way forever, I've got news for you. It's not. We're going to have a major downturn at some point in time. And if you're in what we call that retirement red zone, that 5 years before and 5 years after retirement, and you run headlong into a 50% decline in this market, your retirement may not be the golden years you're dreaming of. Bottom line, in your pre-retirement and retirement years, you need to have the right investment approach in place. So make sure you learn about the proper investment tools today that are designed for pre-retirees and retirees to make sure that you can continue growing your money and that it stays safe and it avoids those big hits.
Well, Doug, another reason that someone would need the proper risk management system in place for their money is due to this next major retirement risk, and that is living a long time in retirement.
Yeah, you have to plan on living a long time in retirement. It happens all the time. People just live a lot longer today than they used to. The fact is, and you need to plan on it. Most people are going to be in retirement for 20, if not even 30 years. So it's very important that you make sure your nest egg is set up basically to pay out for a long time frame. And that is the risk multiplier. You know, JB, when I do my retirement income plans, every single one of them, my goal is to get them through age 100, maintaining their standard of living without running out of money. And every time, you know, we look at the income plan and it carries to age 100, people laugh at me. You know, they say, oh, I'll never live to 100, right, or I don't want to be 100. But the fact of the matter is, the statistics are, if you're a married couple, a happily married couple, and you're 65, there is I think it's a 67% probability that one of you will make it into your 90s.
Wow.
So it is very important that, you know, you've got to be able to plan for longevity. You know, people on average retire before the age of 65, and many people now say they plan to even work longer than that, but half of people retire involuntarily before they expect to. Mm-hmm. Some people retire because of medical problems or injuries or accidents, and others just simply lose their jobs due to restructuring and layoffs, and they can't find suitable new jobs. The fact is, retirement could last a long time, and even for those who retire at 65 or later, retirement can last longer than you expect. People just simply are living longer now.
Right.
Well, you know, everybody wants to live as long as possible, but obviously it's going to have an effect and put pressure on your retirement nest egg for that nest egg to last as long as you do. You got to save enough money and keep that nest egg growing to pay for all those years of retirement and protect your purchasing power from decades of inflation. Not doing this or factoring this into your retirement plan is a very big mistake. So, again, you know, people laugh at me when I plan out to 100 years of age, but you never know what God's plan is for you.
How true that is. All right, Doug, another retirement risk we have today is the taxation risk.
Yeah, JB, that's huge. Most people think their taxes are going to go down or go away in retirement, and that's just simply not true. In fact, in a lot of cases, there's more taxes, and your tax rate even could go up in retirement. So taxes bring a lot of risk to your retirement nest egg. You see, most people are saving or have saved in pre-tax retirement accounts like their 401ks and their 403bs. The problem is that all that money is subject to taxation when you retire. Not only is it subject to taxes when you take that money out, it also affects the taxes on other retirement sources like your Social Security. You got to be very careful and understand exactly how taxes work in retirement to do a proper retirement saving while you're building that nest egg. You need to save properly in different buckets that are treated differently tax-wise, so you have different buckets to pull money from when you retire. This way, you have to have ways to mitigate that tax risk and potentially lower or eliminate some of those taxes. That's just effective tax planning, and it all starts while you're working and saving the most effective way possible. Bottom line, for most retirees, taxes are one of the three largest items in the budget. The situation is likely to get worse. Congress and state and local governments are far more likely to increase your taxes than cut them in the future. JB, it's no secret I'm a big fan of tax-free income and creating Roth accounts, doing the conversions and so forth. So I would offer all my listeners here today to let's sit down, have that cup of coffee, and talk about how to create a tax-free retirement income for yourself. I promise you, taxes right now are the lowest you'll ever see in your lifetime. They're going to go higher. Mathematically, it's just there. So call me at 336-391-3409. And folks, I want to thank you for listening, and we hope you learned something today. And I'd like to invite you to our office for a no-cost, no-obligation review of your current situation. You can schedule an appointment by calling us. Again, the number's 336-391-3409, or just go on my website at thewealthguardians.com. That's www.thewealthguardians.com. And as we close, I'd like to ask you this question. If what you thought to be true about money was not, how soon would you want to know? Over the years, I've seen time and time again that most folks will be fine in retirement without hitting that proverbial home run if they just protect themselves against market losses. Protecting your retirement against market loss is my unique approach, and I've helped hundreds of families in the triad create lifetime income and truly enjoy their retirement. All right, have a terrific week, and we'll see you next week.